Oh, someone asked, where is this do anything well, bumble around? It's from that great quote I read is from the Epictetus book, which I'm glad you liked it. I actually just opened this up and found it right before the webinar today. And I was like, oh, I love that. You know, I'll start a little sooner. It says, stop jabbering like a magpie. Notice, and I think that means out here and in here, but we can't stop it, but we can just go, all right, you keep doing it, because I'm going to notice what's actually happening, not just what you think is happening or wish were happening. Look and listen. To do anything well, you must have the humility to bumble around a bit, to follow your nose, to get lost, to goof. Have the courage to try an undertaking and possibly do it poorly. That's a great new empowering truth for kind of an old belief I was talking about there. It's like we have, but when I'm working with people in my goal setting coaching modality, what I say to them is the number one muscle I feel I'm coaching people in is to get back on the horse, is to fall on the mud and get back on the horse. Life is not about being in an orgasmic gallop on the horse and never falling off. That doesn't happen. It's about falling off and getting on, falling off and getting on, falling off and getting on, and just getting in love with the mud and realizing like, this is life. This is the in and out breath of life, is like, ah, I'm back. What? I'm back. Mistake. Oh. Creativity is not getting it right. Creativity is hitting a wall, everything crumbles, and out of the wreckage, I build something greater than I could have imagined, because I'm guided by a power greater than me that I'm participating in, but I ain't controlling. Is it true that the person watching is already expecting to see the actor incorporate the breakdown noted, but may, if open to themselves, see and respond to spontaneous truth? Well, I think that the person watching, first of all, some people watching, they don't know. I mean, people don't know what they want. They don't know, right? And they have all their own unconscious blocks, and they may be just looking for someone that looks a certain way, and they may not care. But I think what we want, look, when I first came to LA because I was a series regular on a TV show in New York, so it was my way to come out to LA, and then I started for a little while. I was auditioning for a bunch of lead roles in these comedies years ago, because I'd been a series regular on a comedy, sort of comedy. And for a while, much to my chagrin, but I learned so much from it, I gave up on everything I'm talking about, and I just tried to get it right. I consciously was like, I'm going to try to be good at being bad. Because a lot of these sitcoms, they seem to be bad. Some of the acting I see is like, I don't think it's honest. So I'm going to try to find a good way to be bad. And it really fucked me up beyond belief. But it was great because I learned so much from it. So for me, I can't lose myself in trying to figure, but what if they're looking for bad? I just want to be honest. That's all I can do. And hopefully, maybe someone watching is looking for some honesty and they're drawn to me. But the answer to this question, what if the person watching is expecting to see the actor incorporate the breakdown noted, but may open themselves, see and respond to spontaneous truth? Well, this way of working, we're doing both. Because if the breakdown is like an edgy cop on the edge, I am going to choose an as if and an action that help me get in that realm. And again, we just played with it a little bit, but I would, if it says in the breakdown, the cop is edgy, about to lose control, then I would like maybe try to get my brother to do the right thing, but he just like shoved my dad and everyone left and it's just me and him. And now I'm trying to get him to do the right thing after he just shoved my fucking dad. So I'm going to be a little edgy probably and a little intense. And so that's something I might add to go in line with what they're looking for. This whole approach is exactly based on, and it's the trap many actors are making, I think, which is they don't realize that they're not lining up their choices with the author's intent, which is why I say I have all my students write down the breakdown, write down the storyline, go through the script of the sides that you have to make sure you're incorporating into what's literally going on all the information you have about that character, so that you can choose the as if and action that will put you in that realm, and then you can just let it rip, okay? And I'm sure more questions will relate to that. Someone wrote, I'm 71 years old and have worked since 1971 And this process is very thrilling. That moves me deeply. Thank you so much for that. What a great thing to read. You mentioned 3 different books in this session. What were their names again? A Practical Handbook for the Actor, best book on acting I've ever read. A book by Epictetus that is sometimes called The Art of Living, but it's got different names. But if you just like go to Amazon and look up Epictetus, he's only written 1 book, and you can get that. The other one is by Marcus Aurelius. I have that book somewhere around here too. But again, if you look up Marcus Aurelius, just 1 book, many different translations. So the Epictetus book, highly recommend. Marcus Aurelius, A Practical Handbook for the Actor. And anyone who takes my class, the online Zoom class, they're required to read A Practical Handbook for the Actor because I reference it so much. And someone else mentioned Pema Chodron, so I'll recommend like all her books because I love her. Someone said, in all honesty, after watching this, as long as the lighting is decent, it really doesn't matter about professional lighting. It's about me. Thank you for the reminder. Yeah, and sometimes even the non-professional lighting adds to it. Because look, if you're not active, if you're just doing line readings and trying to get it right, often a CD or an agent will say like, yeah, look, you had, because there's other stuff as well, you know, and they're loath to just say like, your acting was wooden and you were doing line readings. Or they will say that, but they'll also say, and with the lighting, and I don't want to see your bookshelf and this and that. But if it's just like kabam, you know, if it's like, tell me what the fuck's going on. Did you commit the crime or not? You know, whatever. If it's just happening, again, is hopefully you gotten glimpses of me doing it and seeing those young ladies. And thank you so much to Ella and Rhea for just jumping in. Neither one of them had ever done this process before. But I could really see in moments with them, you can see what we're talking about, that it's just like you, the viewer, like, no, that seems like the perfect location for the landlord, or that somehow I'm seeing her in this like World War II place or whatever. It just matters so much less than we realize. And we can play with different things. I don't want to mess my whole setting up, but I've got my desk here, but I've got a whole backdrop and I got a couch. Often before Zoom World, when actors would come here and I would tape them, we wouldn't use the backdrop. We use this couch I have because they're just on the couch and they end up like, if they're playing it spontaneously, as you even saw today, people just start doing literally outside the box shit, which is what we want. That's what people want to see. Not just with, it's what works, right? Not just with acting, but if like someone's looking, if non-actor is trying to get a job, right? I mean, I see this happen in my goal setting work with folks. It's like, people don't really get the job from, how are you looking for the job? I'm going to the website that people go to who are looking for jobs like mine, and I'm filling out applications and I'm sending them out. I'm checking the boxes. I got a book about how to get a good business job, and I'm doing the exercises, and you know, that's not what does it. That's not what does it with anything in life. And again, the things we don't have old beliefs and attachments around, we know that. Outside the box is what works. It's what draws people in, you know? Someone said, do you want your action to always oppose your partner in the scene in your mind, or the times it can't? Well, yeah, it wants to oppose, meaning you want to be getting something you haven't got, right? Because if it's something you've got, then what are you going after? So it's like, you don't want the action to be, you want to go after something with the reader or the person in your mind that you're not going to get. Which is why when I take people through these exercises, I say, just imagine this person is looking at you, but they're not saying anything. So they have to keep going, you know? And so we want that opposition, because if the reader or the person we imagine is doing what we want, then the scene's over. We got what we want. And what are we doing? We're self-conscious again. And, you know, so many actors talk about the reader as the problem. You know, a lot of actors will say, and I used to say this when I was younger, it's like, how'd the audition go, Greg? It's like, oh, the reader was horrible. It was supposed to be a love scene with a woman, and it was a guy, and he was looking down the whole time, and he was wooden. How are you supposed to act with that? Well, that's like a fireman saying to a fireman, like, so how was the fire you went to put out today? Horrible. There was smoke and flames, and it was hot. It was uncomfortable. Ain't that the job? Aren't you a fireman? Yeah, but I didn't know. So meaning, if you're an actor, the job is the reader's bad. The reader's not paying attention. They're looking at, or the person, the CD is looking at you and writing notes. Like, that's the gig. But also we find with this approach, it's good if they're not doing what we want, because it reminds me that I got to do it. So I don't want the reader to be doing what I want them to do. I need the resistance. I need a car can't start without traction. That's why a car can't start on ice. You need resistance to get going. As scary as it is to look the reader in the eye and see that they are just staring at you and they're not doing what you want, that's what you want to do. I encourage people to, like, before they start with this exercise with the self-tape, it's great because you can literally do the improv with yourself or with your reader and then just launch into it. But in the room, I encourage actors to make sure before they begin, I call it like, let the line reading train pass, watch it go. Because a lot of actors will forget to be on the action because rightfully so. It's like these people are judging me and all this old belief shit is coming up. And so you just open your mouth and you're like, line reading, you're gone. It's like, watch the line reading train pass. And if you have the first line, take a pause. Look that reader in the eye, make sure they're looking at you. And then begin. And you can feel the room just go, whoa, because suddenly they're watching someone really do something actual to that person in the room. TAG stands for, someone asked, what does TAG stand for? Truth, acceptance, go. TAG stands for truth, acceptance, go. The reason I have it as such is we want to get to the truth, what the truth is about the old belief that's blocking us. And we want to accept that we have an old belief, practice accepting on some level, also practice accepting that the old belief's not actually true, but we also have to accept that we can't unbelieve it, right? We just have to accept that it's there, but on some level, accept what is true. And the G part might be the most important, the go part, to practice acting like what's true is true, even when we still believe the old belief. Greg, when you had your breakthrough changing from an actor seeking results to your new mindset of honing the craft, what happened to your voice in your head that wants to monitor your acting? How did that narrative of that voice change? It didn't. It's still there. Meet him. His name is Sparky. I give him biscuits, right? It's like, he's still there. Now, in a very real way, it's profoundly changed the relationship with that voice. So in a very real way, some of my choral beliefs have simmered down, but in a very real way, they haven't. My relationship to them has changed. There's an old Buddhist tale about like some demons that come to Earth, and they're like, we're going to look for what's the best monk? They want to find the best monk. They're like, if we can mess with the best monk, we're the best demons. And there's like this, the best Buddhist monk lives in this cave. So the demons show up to him one day. And this little Buddhist monk lives by himself, and he's got one cup, and one little spoon, and they start breaking his one cup and spoon and fucking with his whole cave. And the demons are like, breaking everything. And the monk starts breaking everything too. And he helps them and he just breaks everything. The demons look at him and they're like, oh, and they start making scary faces and sounds. And so the monk starts making scary faces and sound back. And they start like, whatever, urinating in the cave or doing crazy shit. And whatever they do, he does. And they eventually leave him alone because he's not playing the game, right? So when we try to get in a dialogue with our old beliefs, it wins every time. Obsession wants you to think. My obsessions, my old beliefs say to me, Greg, maybe how this webinar goes, maybe it's not, your whole life isn't dependent on how this webinar goes. Maybe it's not, but maybe it is. Maybe, can you just crawl in your head for a second? And we got a PowerPoint presentation to show you. Can you just talk to me? Because maybe you'll talk us out of it and we lose, right? So because of certain tools and practices, I'm just better able than I once was to act contrary. But ask my wife, you can ask Michael, like last night, always before doing something like this, I got so much resistance that comes up that I have to work through. But then inevitably, invariably, when I'm doing the thing, I realize that resistance is the gold. And I mean this sincerely, what I'm about to say. The old belief that I've shared with you guys, which is still an old belief of mine, that if I'm not a successful actor, my life will have no value or meaning, I'll get crushed by regret and I'll be annihilated. That used to come up like 90% of the time I audition. Now it comes up like 20% or 15 or maybe 10, I don't know. But if I had an audition for like, Better Call Saul tomorrow to be a reoccurring guest star on Better Call Saul, right? I love that show. And someone said, hey, Greg, push this button. And tomorrow at that audition for Better Call Saul will be one of those 15% times your old belief really comes up and is really on you. I would push the button right now. I really would. Because my experience has shown me I seem to give more effective, more grounded auditions when the voices are louder. It's not fun before, but it's often fun and a relief during. Sometimes it ain't, but there's this satisfaction, and this is what we're looking for, not like the ego satisfaction of I nailed it, they loved me, or they hated me, I was horrible. The same trap. What I want is like, I did it. I did that. I did the thing. Again, I'm getting more moved today than I expected, probably because of all the stuff and the resistance that came up, and but it's beautiful. I'm grateful for it.